the impossible species. The Galactic Council chamber hummed with nervous energy as representatives from 47 civilizations gathered for an emergency session. Ambassador Velcris of the Altarian Collective stood at the central podium, her crystalline form catching and refracting the chamber's soft blue lighting. In her tendrils, she held what would later be known as the most important document in galactic history, the Human Paradox Report. Esteemed colleagues, Velcris began, her voice resonating through the universal translator systems. For 3 standard cycles, we have attempted to classify and understand the species known as humans. Today I present our findings, though I warn you they defy all logic and established xenobiological principles. The Thraxian delegates' mandibles clicked impatiently. We've all heard the rumors about humans, Ambassador. They're either gentle traders or bloodthirsty warriors, depending on who tells the story. Surely your report can clarify which is true. Velcris's form shifted colors, a sign of deep distress among her species. That's precisely the problem, Delegate Krex. Every single rumor about humans, no matter how contradictory, appears to be simultaneously true. A wave of disbelief rippled through the chamber. The Etherian representative, a being of pure energy, pulsed skeptically. That's impossible. A species cannot be both peaceful and violent, both fragile and indestructible, both intelligent and reckless. And yet, Velcris continued, humans are all of these things. Allow me to present our evidence, beginning with the Mining Station 7 incident 3 cycles ago. The holographic displays around the chamber flickered to life, showing a desolate asteroid mining facility. The timestamp indicated this was archived footage from the Korvath Mining Consortium. Mining Station 7 experienced a catastrophic life support failure, Velcris narrated. The Korvath workers, adapted for low oxygen environments, had 18 hours before their specialized atmosphere would become toxic. The nearest rescue vessel was 26 hours away. By all calculations, the station was doomed. The footage showed a small human cargo vessel, barely larger than a shuttle, approaching the station. The ship's identification read, Lucky Strike, with Earth registry numbers beneath. A human trader named Marcus Chen was passing through the system. Upon receiving the distress signal, he did something our xenopsychologists still cannot fully explain. He volunteered to help, knowing full well his ship lacked the proper equipment or life support compatibility. The chamber watched in stunned silence as the footage showed the human manually coupling his ship to the station's emergency airlock. What followed defied every safety protocol in the known galaxy. Chen vented his own ship's atmosphere into the station, then used his cargo hold's emergency supplies to create a makeshift atmospheric processor from mining equipment. He worked for 14 straight hours in conditions that should have killed him within minutes. The Korvath reported that he refused to wear proper protection, claiming it slowed him down too much. The Saurian ambassador's scales shifted uneasily. Humans can survive in toxic atmospheres. Not survive, Velcris corrected, endure. Chen suffered severe respiratory damage, cellular degradation, and should have died 4 times according to our medical understanding. Yet he saved all 43 Korvath workers. When asked why he risked his life for strangers of a different species, his response was simply, they needed help. The footage switched to a medical facility where Chen was being treated. Despite the machinery keeping him alive, he was laughing with the Korvath workers, teaching them what appeared to be a card game. This leads to our second discovery, Velcris continued. Humans possess an inexplicable ability they call pack bonding. They can form emotional attachments to anything, living or non-living, sentient or not. We've documented cases of humans risking their lives to save robots, naming and talking to their ships, and even adopting dangerous predators as pets. The Zareth delegate, whose species was known for their logical approach to everything, interjected. This seems like a critical weakness, not a strength. We thought so too, Velcris admitted, until we observed human military units. Their pack bonding creates a cohesion that transcends individual survival instincts. A human soldier will throw themselves on an explosive to save their unit. They will charge into certain death if it means their pack survives. But here's where it becomes truly paradoxical. The same species that produces such selfless warriors also produces artists, philosophers, and healers of extraordinary compassion. The displays now showed various human settlements across the galaxy, peaceful trading posts, agricultural colonies, research stations, all operating in harmony with neighboring alien civilizations. The rumor that humans are natural warriors? True. Their military history is extensive and bloody. The rumor that humans are peaceful explorers? Also true. They've established more peaceful first contacts than any other species in recent history. The rumor that they're fragile? True, they can die from a simple fall or a minor infection. The rumor that they're indestructible? Also true. We have documented cases of humans surviving injuries that would instantly kill any other known species. Ambassador Threen of the Celestine Order raised a glowing appendage. You speak of paradoxes, but surely there must be some explanation. Some underlying principle that unifies these contradictions? Velcris shifted her form, preparing for the most shocking revelation. There is. Our xenobiologists have identified what they're calling adaptive consciousness. Humans don't just adapt physically to their environment, though their ability to do so is remarkable. They adapt their entire psychological and social framework based on necessity. A human farmer can become a warrior when threatened. A warrior can become a diplomat when peace is possible. They reshape themselves fundamentally, while somehow maintaining their core identity. Impossible, several delegates said simultaneously. I present Exhibit 7, Velcris continued, undeterred. The colony of New Harmony. When established, it was populated by humans who identified as pacifists, fleeing Earth's conflicts. When the colony was threatened by the Ravager fleet 6 months ago, these pacifists transformed into a defensive force that held off a superior enemy for 8 days until reinforcements arrived. Their tactics were so brutal, so efficient, that the Ravagers now refuse to enter any system with a human presence. The footage showed the aftermath of the battle. The same colonists who had fought with terrifying efficiency were now tending to wounded Ravager prisoners with gentle care, sharing their medical supplies and food. But here's the most unsettling discovery, Velcris said, her voice dropping to barely a whisper. The humans know about their paradoxical nature. They embrace it. They have a saying, we are whatever we need to be. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The fractal ambassador, whose species prided themselves on mathematical precision, finally spoke. You're telling us that humans are essentially a quantum species? Existing in multiple states simultaneously until circumstances force them to collapse into a specific configuration? That's the closest analogy we've found, Velcris confirmed. But it goes deeper. Their pack bonding extends to ideas, to principles. A human who bonds with the concept of justice becomes incorruptible. One who bonds with the idea of discovery will risk everything for knowledge. They become living embodiments of whatever they choose to care about. And if they choose to care about conquest? The question came from the militant Kronar delegate. Velcris's form darkened. Then they become something that makes the Ravagers look like children. But if they choose to care about peace, about protection, about life itself? She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. Then they become the guardians the galaxy never knew it needed. The holographic displays shifted one final time, showing a human child playing with an alien creature that most species would classify as a deadly predator. The child was laughing. The creature was gentle, and watching them were the child's parents, alert but unafraid. This image was taken last week on the mixed colony of Haven Prime, Velcris explained. That creature is a Vorthan Ripper. It has killed members of every species that has encountered it, except humans. Somehow, through their pack bonding, they've turned one of the galaxy's deadliest predators into what they call a family dog. The implications were staggering. If humans could befriend the unfriendable, survive the unsurvivable, become whatever they needed to be, then everything the galaxy understood about species limitations was wrong. When myths become reality, 3 months after the Human Paradox Report was filed, the galaxy faced its greatest crisis. The Zephyron hegemony, a militant civilization from beyond the galactic rim, launched a surprise invasion. Their technology was superior, their tactics ruthless, and their stated goal was the complete subjugation of all inferior species. Within days, 12 systems had fallen. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session, this time aboard the mobile command station Unity, as their homeworlds were no longer safe. Ambassador Velcris found herself standing beside the human representative, Admiral Sarah Chen, a descendant of the same Marcus Chen who had saved Mining Station 7. Admiral, Velcris said, her form shimmering with anxiety. The Council is prepared to offer humanity sanctuary in the core worlds if you evacuate now. The Zephrons are too powerful. Sarah Chen smiled, a human expression that Velcris had learned could mean many things. This particular smile sent chills through her crystalline structure. Ambassador, do you remember your report? About humans being whatever we need to be? Chen asked, her voice calm despite the chaos around them. Of course, but surely you can't mean to stand against the Zephron fleet. They outnumber you 50-1. Oh, we don't intend to stand against them, Chen replied, pulling up a holographic display of human fleet movements. We intend to become something they've never encountered before. The display showed human ships, but they weren't moving in standard military formations. They were scattered, seemingly random across dozens of systems. I don't understand, Velcris admitted. Your ships are dispersed, vulnerable. This violates every principle of space warfare. Traditional warfare, yes, Chen agreed. But humans have a saying. If you can't beat them at their game, change the game entirely. Over the next 72 hours, the galaxy witnessed something that would later be studied in military academies across 1,000 worlds. The humans didn't engage the Zephron fleet directly. Instead, they did something unprecedented. They disappeared, not literally, of course. But every human ship, every human soldier, every human presence simply vanished from conventional sensors. The Zephrons, confident in their superiority, dismissed it as a retreat. They were wrong. What followed was what humans called guerrilla warfare in space. Human ships would appear for seconds, launch devastating attacks on supply lines, then vanish. They hid in asteroid fields that sensors said were empty. They used gravity wells of stars to mask their presence. They turned space itself into an ally. But the real shock came when the Zephrons attacked the agricultural world of Prosperity 5, home to 2 million civilians of various species, including 30,000 humans. The Zephron commander, Executor Vex, broadcast his ultimatum: surrender or face obliteration. You have one solar rotation to decide. The response came not from the planetary government, but from a human teacher named David Park, who had been running a small school for mixed-species children. We need more time to evacuate the children, Park transmitted. Give us 3 days. Executor Vex laughed, a sound like grinding metal. You have 1 day, as stated. No negotiations. What happened next entered galactic legend. David Park, a literature teacher who had never held a weapon in his life, organized what humans called the most insane defense in military history. Using mining equipment, agricultural machines, and his students' science projects, he created a defense network that shouldn't have worked. You want to know the truth about human insanity? Park broadcasted on all frequencies as the Zephron dropships descended. It's not that we're crazy, it's that we make crazy work. The mining lasers, never designed for combat, had been recalibrated using principles from a 12-year-old's physics homework. The agricultural dusters, meant for spreading seeds, now spread a cloud of metallic chaff that made targeting impossible. The school's robotics club had reprogrammed maintenance drones into suicide bombers. For 18 hours, a literature teacher and his students held off an invasion force. When asked later how he knew what to do, Park simply said, I read a lot of history. Humans have been doing the impossible since we learned to throw rocks. The 18 hours Park bought was enough. Admiral Chen's scattered fleet had been preparing something unprecedented. Using their pack bonding ability, human crews had been teaching alien crews how to think human for combat purposes. The thing about humans, Chen explained to the combined fleet before the battle, is that we're all a little bit crazy. But it's a functional crazy. We believe in impossible things like justice, like hope, like the idea that David can beat Goliath if he's clever enough. Today I'm asking all of you to be a little bit human, to believe in the impossible. The Battle of Kepler Station, where the Zephron main fleet was concentrated, lasted exactly 43 minutes. The human-led coalition didn't use superior firepower or numbers. They used what military historians would later call coordinated chaos. Every ship fought differently. The Altarian vessels used hit-and-run tactics they learned from human pirates. The Thraxian cruisers employed ramming maneuvers inspired by ancient Earth naval battles. The Etherian energy beings possessed Zephron computer systems using techniques learned from human hackers. But the decisive moment came when a single human ship, an outdated frigate called Persistence, did something that shouldn't have been possible. Its captain, Maya Okonkwo, a former merchant marine with no formal military training, flew her ship directly into the Zephyran flagship's shield array. "The thing about humans," she broadcast as her ship began to break apart, "is that we don't just break the rules, we break the concept of rules." Her ship's destruction created a resonance cascade that not only destroyed the Zephyran shields, but sent a pulse through their entire fleet, disabling their advanced technology. In those few crucial seconds of vulnerability, the coalition struck. The Zephyrans surrendered within the hour. In the aftermath, as the galaxy tried to understand what had happened, Executor Vex was asked how an inferior force had defeated his armada. "They weren't inferior," he said, his voice hollow with defeat. "We prepared for military tactics, for technology, for strategy. We didn't prepare for chaos given purpose. We didn't prepare for insanity wielded with precision. We didn't prepare for a species that could become anything, including our worst nightmare." The signing of the peace accords took place on Earth, at humanity's insistence. The location was significant, a small school where David Park had returned to teaching literature. As the various ambassadors gathered, they watched human children playing with alien children, teaching them games, sharing their food, forming those inexplicable pact bonds. Ambassador Velcris approached Admiral Chen as they watched the ceremony. "Your species terrifies me," she admitted. "You can become angels or demons, creators or destroyers, and sometimes all at once." Chen nodded thoughtfully. "We terrify ourselves sometimes. But that's the thing about humans, Ambassador. We're not one thing or another. We're possibility itself given form. Every rumor about us is true because we contain the potential for all of it." "And how do you decide which potential to manifest?" Velcris asked. Chen smiled, watching David Park teaching a young Zephyran child how to read poetry. "We don't always decide consciously. Sometimes the universe tells us what it needs us to be, and we become that. Sometimes we're the monster under the bed. Sometimes we're the light that drives it away. The trick is knowing which one the moment requires." The peace that followed was unlike any the galaxy had known. Humans became mediators, warriors, teachers, and friends to species across the stars. They remained paradoxical, impossible, and absolutely essential. Because in a universe full of certainties, sometimes what you need most is a species that can be anything, even the impossible, especially the impossible.